Hello students, welcome to our Sahali College. I am Nandini, I am your biology lecturer. I am handling the second chapter in your first PU biology, that is biological classification. So before starting with the chapter, I would like to appreciate all of you for choosing biology. So why I need to appreciate you for choosing biology? What is the importance of biology? Most of you have chosen biology maybe for your future career, to attend the NEET examination, to go for medical field, etc. And some of you have with your own interest have chosen biology, and some of you with your parents or others guidance you have chosen biology. But what may be the reason? Whatever may be the reason, but choosing biology is one of the important and very appreciating factor. Because what is the advantage of studying biology? Not only for your future career, even the biological knowledge, it will be helping you throughout your life. For example, how it will be helping in your throughout life? For example, as we are human beings and living organisms, we are surviving in this environment. When you look at the surrounding, you will feel that nature is very beautiful. So now you can see the nature and you will feel that beauty. But after completing your 2 years of UC, after studying biology, you will be really enjoying the nature's beauty. Because now when you see a tree, you will see that yeah, it is a tree, it contains fruits, leaves, etc. But after studying biology, you will know the beauty of a leaf, a beauty of a flower, fruit, everything you will be come to know. So beauty in the leaf, in the sense the shape of the leaf is different, the arrangement of leaves are different, everything is very different. And flowers are the most attracting organs in the plant, and different colors of flowers can be seen. Again, different varieties of fruits can be seen. So such varieties can be known only after studying biology. So that is one thing. And another thing, as we are human beings, sometimes we may be sick, we may be not feeling well. So if you are not feeling well, what you will do? You will go to the doctor, you will take medicine and it gets cured. But as a biology student, if you are a biology student, you will find out the reason. So before going to the doctor, you will think why it has been happened, what may be the reason, and what are the preventive measures you can take. Everything you can know only if you are a biology student. Otherwise, you will simply go to the doctor, you will take medicine, and while taking medicine, you may find out, you may arise a question, how this medicine can cure this particular disease. Everything that scientific questioning and scientific knowledge you will be obtaining with the help of biology. And one more thing, now you are all familiar with the COVID-19. So everyone know that corona, it is a virus. But do you know what exactly a virus is? What are the properties of virus? No one knows. Everyone knows that corona is a virus, but you never know that it is a virus. What exactly a virus, and what are the properties it has, and why it can able to cause diseases in human beings or living organisms. Everything you can able to know after studying biology. That's why biology has great importance and advantage. It will be definitely helping you in your future life. Now we will start up with the chapter biological classification. Let us see the introduction for this chapter. So firstly, what is biology? Biology, it is a branch of science which deals with the study of life or living. Biology, it is a branch of science which deals with the study of life or living. You may got the definition for life and living in your first chapter, that is the living world. So here no need to explain the life as well as living. So simply you can remember biology, it is a story of life. Simply we can say that biology, it is a story of life. Then what is this story of life? Here story of life is nothing but the origination of earth, or how the first life originated on the earth. That story we are going to study in this biology. You may be studied in your previous classes. The earth formation takes place around 4.5 million years ago. Is it right? The earth formation takes place around 4.5 million years ago. Then after the earth formation, Later, the first life originated on this earth is about 3.5 million years ago. The earth formation takes place around 4.5 million years ago, and the first life originated on this earth is about 3.5 million years ago. So when you observe here, there is a 1 million year gap. So between the earth formation and the life formation, there is a 1 million year gap. So what exactly? Immediately after the formation, there is no life formation immediately. It takes 1 million year gap. So what are the changes that have been taken place in this 1 million year gap? Initially, in this 1 million year gap, firstly, the inorganic gases were formed. The inorganic gases like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. All these inorganic gases are first formed. Later, these inorganic gases are combined to form organic material. Organic material, for example, glucose. Glucose can be chemically represented like C6H12O6. So now you can observe these inorganic molecules or inorganic gases combined to form the organic material. This organic material usually present in organisms. So we can say that the organic materials finally leads to the formation of organism. That is what I mean to say here. Initially, the inorganic gases formed. Later, inorganic gases combined to form organic material. And finally, organic material leads to the formation of the first life or the living organism. And what the first formed organisms on the earth, they are called primitive. And the later formed organisms are called advanced. For example, bacteria is a first formed organism, so we can call that bacteria as a primitive, and we human beings are advanced group of organisms. So this is the history how the life originated on the earth. Now I have mentioned the living organism as being originated, but how can you say that the organism is living? So depending upon the properties of living organism, as you studied in the first chapter, there are certain unique properties exhibited by the living organism. Let us recall the properties of living organisms. So which are the properties of living organisms? The properties are like cellular organization, growth, reproduction, metabolism, consciousness, adaptation, movement, etc. are certain unique properties of living organisms. So what is this cellular organization? Each and every living organisms are made up of cells. It is made up of maybe single cell or many number of cells that we exactly call as unicellular and multicellular. And growth. The increase in their size and volume of the organism is called growth. Reproduction, the organisms which produces offsprings of its own kind, that is reproduction. Metabolism, the sum total of all biochemical reactions that takes place in the organism. Consciousness, respond to stimuli. Adaptation, adjustment with the changing environmental conditions. All these are the unique properties of living organisms. So all these unique properties you will study in the first chapter, living world. Here again no need to explain. You will be familiar with all these unique properties. These are very, very important because all living organisms will be exhibiting these unique properties. So now you are familiar with the unique properties. Depending upon the unique properties, is it possible to list out certain living organisms? How many number of living organisms you can able to list out? Maybe 100 or 1000 you can able to list out and you can remember. But if you know the number of plant and animal species on this earth are about 1.7 to 1.8 millions. The number of living, that is plant and animal species on this earth are about 1.7 to 1.8 millions. Now, is it possible to remember the names and their each and every character of these 1.7 to 1.8 millions of living organism? You will feel difficulty to remember the 100 names of the living organism. But I am saying 1.7 to 1.8 millions. So it is very difficult to remember the names also and to study the each and every character of the organism. Then how to study these living organisms? How is it possible? Whether it is possible or not? Let us take a simple example so that you will be able to understand. For example, in one particular area, there are about 100 of living organisms, including certain plants, animals like a dog, cat, etc., and even human beings of different age persons. Different aged persons like children, adults, old aged persons, all are present in one particular area. For example, in that area there are 100 living organisms including plants, animals and human beings. Even the human beings are also included in animals group only. So now how you can remember all these organisms? Here no need to worry. If you understand in every living organism, with the one and other organism, there are certain similarities as well as differences. So between the organism, there are certain differences as well as similarities. If you find out the similarities and differences, you can group the organisms. For examples, as I mentioned, so in that area, plants, animals, etc. are there. Now we can find. Do you think that bee and plants are same? No, we have certain differences so that we can group plants into one group and animals into another group. Again, when you observe the plants, some plants will produce flowers and some plants will not produce flowers. So we can classify again, we can group the plants again into flowering plants and non-flowering plants. Again, among the flowering and non-flowering plants, we can group them into herbs, shrubs, trees, like that. So we are grouping the organisms. When we are making groups, we can able to understand better. That's why we are grouping the organisms depending upon the similarities and dissimilarities. Again, in animals, the animals can be classified into like a dog, cat, they are grouped into one group and humans into another group. Again, humans, in case of humans, so let me write here. So when we are grouping humans, again in humans, we can group them males and females. Again, under males and females, we can make some more groups like old age persons, adult persons, children, like that. Again, we can able to group. Now, what we are actually doing? We are grouping the organisms into separate groups. Are placing organisms into separate groups. That placing of organisms into separate groups is called classification. Did you got the definition for classification? Here classification is nothing but the placing of organisms into separate groups based on some easily observable characters. We are not going to study in detail. We are noting only some easily observable characters. Depending upon the easily observable characters, we are grouping the organisms. That is called classification. Then what is biological classification? The biological classification, it is the scientific method of arranging organisms into groups and subgroups based on their similarities and dissimilarities and placing these groups into a hierarchy. That hierarchy, the term hierarchy, you will study in the first chapter. So hierarchy that you already in your previous classes also you studied. For example, kingdom, division, class, order, family, genus, species. That is called a hierarchy. So here what I am saying, biological classification, it is the scientific procedure of arranging organisms into groups and subgroups. For example, this is one group and these are the subgroups. Likewise, we are arranging organisms into groups and subgroups based on their similarities and dissimilarities and arranging these groups into a hierarchy. So this is scientific procedure. That definition is very, very important. Then why biological classification is required? Without classification, what will happen? So here classification is very, very important. Without a proper system of classification, it is very difficult to identify the organism. So let us study the need for classification. See, as there are millions of living organisms exist on this earth, they vary in their shape, size, structure. Each and every organism is different from one another. Their shape is different, size is different, and structure is different. And even the organisms are present in different localities, different habitats. One organism is present in this area, another organism present in that area. Like that, they are present in different localities. And it is very difficult to identify and describe the characteristic features of the living organisms. So it is required to classify the organisms into groups, and a proper system of classification is very, very important. Why it is very, very important or essential? Because the classification, it helps to identify the organism and to know the taxonomic level. For example, whenever you see the hibiscus plant, you identify that plant as hibiscus because there is a classification. In that classification, they have mentioned that hibiscus, and you can know their taxonomic level. Taxonomic level, as I already mentioned, you can know that hibiscus, it belongs to the family Malvaceae, and its species is Hibiscus rosa sinensis. Like that, the taxonomic level you can able to study. And with the help of classification, you can able to know the past life. Past life in the sense, the organisms which are present before. For example, dinosaur. So dinosaur, have you seen a real dinosaur? No, you have seen in the cinemas or in books. That dinosaur, how do you know that it is a dinosaur? Because in the classification, they have already mentioned that the past life. The dinosaur which was present once upon a time, but now it doesn't exist, but also you know that it is a dinosaur because of the classification. And with the help of classification, we know the organisms which are present in other localities. For example, in our state, certain plant and animals will be there, and in some other area, in some other country or some other state, some other different types of living organisms exist. So all those organisms are mentioned in the classification. So the classification includes the living organisms all around the world. So whatever the organisms which are present in this area or in other country or other state, all are mentioned in this classification. So with the help of classification, you can able to know the organisms of other locality. And this classification helps to build the evolutionary pathway. Evolutionary pathway in the sense, as I said, the first formed organisms on the earth are called primitive, and later formed organisms are called advanced. So, how can you know that the bacteria is a primitive one and humans are advanced one? Because with the help of classification, we know that bacteria is a primitive or first formed organism, and we humans are advanced group of organisms. And with the help of classification, we can able to know the relationship between the organism. So what is the relationship between plants and animals, or what is the relationship between some other animals among the animals? Everything we can able to know with the help of classification. And it is very difficult to remember the names, their systematic position, and each and every characteristic. That's why we definitely need a system of classification. Without a proper system, it is very difficult to identify and classify the organisms. So these are the needs for classification or importance of classification. Let's recall few points that we have studied in this class. You remember? So these are the introductory part. And what is the classification? Placing of organisms into separate groups based on some easily observable characters is called classification. Then what is the biological classification? It is the scientific procedure of arranging organisms into groups and subgroups based on their similarities and dissimilarities, and placing these groups into a hierarchy of categories. and what is the importance of classification that I have explained. So this is the introductory part, as well as we know the definition for classification and biological classification. The need for classification is also very important, and in the upcoming classes we are going to study about the domains of life, the kingdoms of classification. That kingdoms of classification is very important. The first and second chapter in your first PUC are the basic chapters to understand the next chapters. So whatever the chapters in your first and second PUC are mainly based on these two chapters. So you should understand better both the first and second chapter, and this biological classification is very important and interesting. If you understand this chapter, you can able to understand the remaining chapters also, because you will have a good basics in this chapter. So that completes today's class. In the next class, we will be starting with the next aspects.